understand finance for kids, something which is not taught in the school. And I always thought that school should be the one who should teach how to go about investments, savings for your future with your kids. It has to inculcate it. Nevertheless, let's learn today how do we want to go about doing this. So, for understanding finance for kids, we have to understand what exactly are we trying to do here. We're trying to showcase and instill within ourselves the importance of finance and the overall integration of finance in our overall life. Now, what do you mean by integrating finance into whatever things that we do? As we all know that we can't do anything without money. Money becomes one of the most important ingredients of our daily life, whether you like it or you don't like it. However, connecting your happiness to money may not be a very appropriate thing to do, because even if you have a lot of money after learning this session, it does not guarantee you happiness. Happiness is something very intrinsic. Money does not bring intrinsic happiness, but money does bring in a lot of luxuries for you to help you make your overall life very comfortable. But happiness is very intrinsic. You have to build your mindset to be happy. So everybody knows money. Money is actually, how do you make money? Okay. So there are various ways in which you make money, right? Let's understand some of the ways in which anybody can make money in their life. One, you take a job. So job pays you salary. This is your income. That means your money is coming, right? So these are the various forms of income. What is the other way of income? You start your business. Correct? You start your own business. Now there are various avenues today of making business. Either you start your online store, or become a YouTuber, or become an influencer, or start a traditional business, which is brick and mortar. Brick and mortar, which means brick and mortar business means it has got a facility. It has got four walls. When you go to a store, a physical store, it's a brick and mortar store. At the same time, the same item you can buy from other places as well, which are online stores. So this is something that one needs to keep in mind as we go forward, that there are various avenues of making money, and one needs to keep that in mind while making money. Now, it's quite possible that you are making money through multiple ways as you go forward. Another way of income is you inherit something from your inheritance. Inheritance means you get it from your grandparents, parents, and so on. So you're inheriting that money. But irrespective of whatever money that comes in, okay, through whatever channels out here, okay, you need to understand and learn the art of investing that money. It is said that every third generation, after every third generation, which means the fourth generation, is going to lose the money that you have invested. The prior generation had invested. So, for example, if you are investing today here, okay, is the first generation. So you are investing, you created a very important wealth out here for your first generation. It is said that by second, third and fourth generation, second, third and fourth generation, this will almost plummet. And the cycle will continue. So it's a very cyclic thing, and this is through statistics that people are going to reach to this conclusion. So it's very important to understand the art of investing and preserving the wealth that your previous generations have created. And it's quite possible that you are the generation who is going to generate all this wealth. In that case, you need to be ultra careful on how you want to go about investing it overall. Okay? Is this okay? You understood this? You understood the principle that there is a cyclic pattern of this, where one generation earns and invests well, and the fourth generation loses that money completely and starts. So if this is riches, this is poor. Okay, so that is the cycle that one goes through, and this is the reason why one needs to understand this well. Because if second and third generation, instead of plummeting in this fashion, pull this upwards, then there is no limit to it, no sky to it. You know, it will just explode. The wealth will explode proportionately. In fact, in Okay, but there is a human psychology that plays out here, okay, which we'll understand as we go forward. What is that human psychology that plays here? If you get something in hand, you tend to spend it. If you put effort to earn something, you retain it and you invest it. So that is the basic principle of why people retain and invest their money well if it is very hard earned money. If you really worked very hard, sweated out things, put up your nights to do it, put on your efforts to learn something and then make money, then you tend to be a better investor overall, instead of you getting something in hand which you tend to just blow off. This is all statistics, folks. So if you have understood this, let's move forward with, now assume that you have got money in hand, right? The money in hand through various different channels. Okay. Now, how would you go about investing that money, and what are the various different avenues in which you can invest this money properly? Right? This is what is going on in everybody's mind, right? Now, broadly, okay, I am going to categorize things, and as we go forward, I am going to put subcategories and various different items within those categories slowly. So let's broadly, your investment options are of few types. One, investment options. Let's understand the first investment option. The first investment option is called debt investments. Debt, DEBT, debt. Okay. Debt investments. Okay. The other investments are equity investments. We will understand what is equity, but it's an equity investment. Okay. The third investment that I would like to categorize is a real estate investment. Okay, so there are few more where you can invest in articles, vintage articles, luxurious goods, handicrafts, or paintings, art, and so on and so forth. But those are called alternate investments. Those don't form the primary basis of investment. Those are always additional alternate investments. Those are alternate investments. I'm not considering for simplicity reasons, because by and large, if you look at your portfolio, your alternate investment by and large will not be more than 0 to 5% of your entire portfolio. So let's understand that if you want to invest this particular money, these are the 3 different categories in which you will invest this money. Okay. Now let's take an example that you have 100 rupees to invest. Okay. Now you have 100 rupees to invest in hand. Now it's up to you how you want to invest that 100 rupees, either in debt or in equity or in real estate. Okay. Real estate, everybody will be able to relate this well. So let's tackle this. This house that we live in is nothing but a property. Real estate is nothing but property. So real estate means property. You got it? You got the idea? So we have bought a house. Okay. Anybody who has bought a house has got a real estate. He has got a property. There is a value to every house. Correct? Suppose the value of this house, or I'm just assuming the value of the house that you are living in is 2 crores. 2 crores. Okay. So this is the value, this is the money which has been invested as part of real estate, which is in property. Got it? Okay. So this is one avenue. Instead of having one house, you could have multiple houses and buy those houses, put your money into it, and you're investing into those properties, which is nothing but real estate. Whether it is the right strategy or wrong, we'll figure out as we go forward. Okay? But there is a possibility that you could invest in real estate and sell. Correct? Okay. Now we understood what is real estate. Now let's understand the debt investments. What are the various debt instruments that we have? Okay, so various different avenues under these categories are called instruments. Instruments is a way of investing into debt. It's a way of investing into debt. So what does come to our mind first? Debt investment is everybody has it. So it's easy for me and you to understand this is we have a bank account. Bank account we have, and we get interest on the money that we have in the bank. Okay, that's a debt investment. So by definition, debt investments are the ones which has got lower risk and lower returns. What does lower risk and lower returns mean? It means you losing that money, the probability is very low. Okay, probability is there but very low. So for example, you went and invested this in a bank account, put your money in State Bank of India bank account. Okay, the bank is not going to go bankrupt, right? It's a State Bank of India, for example. Okay, many of the banks still have insurance. Even if they go bankrupt, every account holder up to a certain amount, it's insured. So insurance company will pay that money for it. Okay. In India, it is far lesser. In US, it is far higher. Okay. In US, every bank account is by federal law, it is expected to be insured for $250,000. In India, I think it is around 1.5–2 lakh rupees, which is very less. Okay, but nevertheless, such laws exist and such insurances exist. So here you are going to get less interest returns on your money, and you are going to have low risk. Okay, got it? So low risk, low return. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to state here that this is low risk, low return, because this is very important. And just because it is low risk, low return, that does not mean that it is not an attractive investment class. It does not mean that that has to be avoided because it gives low returns. Because your overall portfolio, when you invest, it has to be a percentage of a lot of these things. We'll come to that move forward. You understood this? Okay. So you could keep that money in bank account. You also have a bank account. Okay, or you could create a bank FD, fixed deposit. Now that fixed deposit typically will be at a higher interest rate than what you get. Here in the bank, you will typically get a 4.5% interest rate. On a bank account, whatever money is there in your bank account, you will get a 4.5% interest rate without you doing anything about it. In bank FD, typically the interest rate is higher by 2.5% typically. So here you will end up getting anywhere from 7% to 9%, depending upon which bank. Okay, which bank? Some banks who are desperately in need of money, okay, they may give you a little higher interest rate. Okay, but your low risk becomes a little higher risk. Still low risk, but a little higher risk than the low risk, because those banks are giving you a higher FD rate. So you need to be very careful. If some bank is giving you a higher FD rate, then you need to ask yourself why he is giving a higher interest rate. Okay, as compared to other competitors of his or hers. Got it? So this is one way of investing. This is another way of investing. What is the third way of investing? Okay. Third way of investing is you go and buy various different bonds, okay, in the market. Now, what are these various different bonds? Okay. There are bonds which are circulated by various different companies. Companies also release their bonds. Okay, so you buy company bonds. Okay, or there are some organizations who release a bond. So, for example, Rural Authority of India has got National Rural Authority of India has got a bond. National Highway, the ones which create highway, they also have got their own bonds. RBI also gives you bonds where you can go and subscribe those bonds. So there are various different bonds, and those bonds has got various different interest rates associated with it. But they will also typically fall in the very same fashion here. Okay, here same, around the same fashion. Okay? But these bonds can be also traded on the exchange, stock exchange. It's a different story. Let's not get there. But there's a way of investing this. Then, in addition to that, Government of India has provided small saving schemes, where you can go into post office and create post office recurring deposit or post office deposits, and so on and so forth. Again, for some interest rate, which is again going to fall into the same category here. Okay, so these are not very different interest rates. By and large, all of them fall into this similar pattern of interest rates. Now, what is RD? RD, we talked about FD, right? Fixed deposit, which means I give you a lump sum. Say I put 100 rupees into a FD and tell them I want you to keep this money with you for another 1 year, and they will say for 1 year we'll give you an interest rate of 7%. So after 1 year, when you take it out, how much money will you get? 100 plus 7, right? 107 rupees. So you got 107 rupees out of that. So that's how the interest, your principal. This is called principal, okay, and this is called interest. This is called principal. This is called interest. So this is how your overall investment grows, because you got interest from bank and and your overall sum has increased. In investment has increased. You got it? You got it here? Okay. So these are the various different forms of investment. What is RD? RD is recurring deposits. Okay. What do you mean by recurring deposit? You don't have 1 lakh rupees at this moment to invest into a FD, for example. Okay. But you can invest 10,000 rupees every month. So every month you are going to put 10,000 rupees into that recurring deposit account. So recurring means it's recurring every month. So that's the reason why it is called recurring. Okay, so recurring deposit. So that will also attract some interest rate, which will be again be in the same bracket of 7 to 9%. This bracket changes higher or lower depending upon the interest rate regime overall which is going on in India, and that interest rate regime is based on the inflation rate at which India is overall inflating. The goods prices are getting inflated overall. Typically, the inflation rate in India is between 4 to 5%. Okay, but these guys give you a little higher than that so that you beat the inflation. And then overall, how do they make money? They will give loan to somebody else at higher interest rate. So if they are paying you 9%, for example, then somebody else they will give that loan, your money, they will give to them as loan. Okay, at 12% or 13%. Take 4 or 5% cut in between. They'll give you 9% and take a 5% in between and keep that 5% with them. That's how the banks will make money out here. Okay, so how do bank makes money? They make money by taking money from you and giving that money on loan to somebody else. So that the difference of interest rate that is offered to you, whereas the interest rate that is offered for the loan taker, that difference they can keep them as money, interest and money. Got it? That's how the bank makes money overall. Now let's move forward with this. You are okay? I understood this debt instruments. Okay. Now I am going to introduce to you a new class of debt instruments, which is nothing but mutual funds. Mutual funds. Now mutual funds, they operate in both equity as well as debt. So there are debt mutual funds also. Okay, the debt mutual funds would mean that a lot of companies, like I said, companies offer need money. So they release bonds or they release company deposit certificates and so on and so forth. So these are the mutual funds who go and buy those CDs or those bonds. And because why do they buy? Because people like you and me tell that mutual fund that I have got this 1 lakh rupees, you take my 1 lakh rupee, I am investing in your debt fund, and now you go and invest further. Okay, so mutual fund managers, they take all this money from us and then they are going to go and invest in the debt instruments. Typically the debt instruments that they will invest would be here in this book, typically. Okay, you got the idea? Again, the returns on those funds are going to be limited, going to be in the very same fashion. Okay, out there. Okay, but they are still debt instruments because they are not investing in any shares or equity at all. They are still debt instruments. You got it? There is another class of debt instruments, mutual funds, which is nothing but government bonds. Government says that I want money and I am going to release those bonds. You can come and buy those bonds. Those bonds can also be bought by the mutual debt fund mutual funds. So these are called typically gilt funds. GILT, gilt funds. Okay? Got it? You're with me? Okay. So mutual funds are going to invest typically in this, and they would also invest typically in this. Okay? Which is the government bonds, which are gilt funds. Now you have so many different avenues of investing just from the debt perspective. even if you do nothing and just keep your money in bank account, which is a savings bank account, okay, you will anyway start earning 4.5% interest, which is barely enough to level off the overall inflation rate. Inflation rate is also 4.5, 4 to 5%. It will negate that. That's it. So your money is not growing, because inflation means your money is not at 4.5% inflation versus your interest rate at 4.5%. You are negated everything. So value of the money remains the same as you go forward. Got it? Okay. Okay? So that very well you understood. Now real estate you understood properly. Nothing but property. Property could be a house also, it could be commercial property also. Commercial means where you could have a property which is being rented by a bank, for example ATM, you rent it out for ATM, for a hair salon. Okay, you see so many such shops down there, right? So those are nothing but commercial estates, commercial real estate. So you could own a commercial real estate also, or a commercial and residential. Okay, so the house is nothing but residential. Okay, commercial means all these commercial entities operating out of it. Got it? So so that means a bank cannot come into a residential area in our house and start their banking business. They have to be in a commercial premises. But you can go and buy it and rent it to a bank or whoever is doing a commerce out of that, business out of it. Okay. So should we go to equity now? Okay. Okay. I'll just draw this line here so that we can demarcate this. Now, very simply put, equity is nothing but shares in a company. So every business, every company is collection of shares, right? So company is formed by promoters, right? For example, if you want to start your own design studio, for example, okay, you are the promoter. Any money that is required to start a design studio, you are going to put it from your pocket, okay? But tomorrow you think that that you need some more money, okay, to pump into your design studio, for example. Then you will say, oh, I will bring one more person as a partner, as a partner and promoter, and I will sell 50% of my company's share because he is going to bring in more money to be put into that business. So you're divided that share into two pieces now. Okay, whether it is 50-50, 70-30, 20-30 is all valuation based. Let's not get there. But then what I'm trying to say is every company is made up of shares, and you have all the right to go and buy those shares from the market, from the exchange, from the stock exchange. So where do you go and buy shares of any company? Stock exchange. Got it? So if you want to own HDFC Bank, okay, right, for investment purpose, because you think HDFC Bank will do really well, which it has not done for the last 4 years in the stock market. If you think HDFC Bank is going to do really well, then you will go and buy those shares from the stock exchange. Got it? Now there are two stock exchanges in India. One is Bombay Stock Exchange, and the second one is National Stock Exchange, BSE and NSE. Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. Okay, and you can deal with those shares, with those exchanges, through a broker. Okay, so there is a broker. If you want to buy HDFC, you cannot directly go to HDFC and say, give me 2 shares. You will typically go through a broker who will buy and sell for you, okay, through the interface. Okay. But a little later, I will explain that entire scenario a little later, how shares and brokers and the companies are all interlinked and how you can do those transactions. So equity is nothing but, equity means you can have shares. shares that you are buying and selling, or equity could also be mutual funds. Okay, like we had mutual funds, debt mutual funds here, debt mutual funds. We have got equity mutual funds. So debt mutual funds did what? They invested our money into debt instruments, debt options. Okay, so equity mutual funds will do what? They will invest in equities, which is nothing but shares of companies. And those shares of the company they will buy and sell on the exchange. So we are giving money to these mutual funds, and on behalf of us, they are going and buying those shares as part of the mutual fund. As the share price goes up, the mutual fund, suppose the mutual fund has bought 10 shares, okay, and the share price of all those 10 shares, the price of all those 10 shares goes up, the mutual fund price also goes up, no? Because the price has gone up, right? So that's how you make money in mutual funds. But at the same time, if the share price drops, then the mutual fund value also drops, and you will make a loss out there. Okay? That is the reason equity is said to be high risk, high return. Got it? You guys are with me? Huh? Now, let's understand few more things with respect to mutual funds. Now, mutual funds are also in equity space of various different kinds. Okay. One is a mutual fund that I mentioned to you, where they have got a scheme, their own scheme. Okay, that I am going to invest only in shares which are large cap. Large cap means who are very big companies. Or some scheme may say I am going to invest, this scheme is going to invest only in small cap, which means whose value is very small. So they have their own schemes running. At the same time, there is something called as index funds. Index funds is nothing but there are various indexes the exchanges have created. So these funds simply mimic the indexes that have been created on those exchanges. Simply. Don't think too much about it. They're again mutual funds, and those index funds, a flavor of index funds is exchange traded funds. Okay, so something, those mutual funds you can buy and sell on exchanges. These two cannot. Okay, but the ETFs can be, exchange traded funds can be exchanged from the brokers app on the exchanges. But these two cannot. These two have to be, the transaction has to be done on that particular mutual fund provider only. So if the mutual fund provider is ICICI Prudential and you have a large cap scheme that you have taken from them to invest, then when you want to remove that money, you will put a request to the investment house, which is ICICI Prudential, to take your money back. Got it? You guys you are with me? Okay. So we have equity, which is high risk, high return. In these various different schemes, this high risk also varies. Low risk to ultra high risk, very high risk. Okay. So there is a difference in those categories also. Okay, so these are the three categories of investments by and large that anybody would do. Okay. Now, how do you go about deciding what percentage of your money should be in which kind of instruments? Correct? Would you, if you have 100 rupees out here, would you put all 100 rupees on debt? Or would you put all 100 rupees on equity as investment, or you will put all 100 rupees on real estate? Okay. So typically, typically this is called as asset allocation. So your investment is nothing but asset, and allocation is whether you want to allocate here, and with what percentage you want to allocate. Now there are broad formulas how one should go about investing overall. Okay, and those remain broad guidance formulas. For example, people say that your investment in equity should be 100, because 100 is the 100%, right? From 100%, 100 minus your age. So that much percentage you should put on equity, which means if you are a 20-year-old kid, okay, then 100 minus 20 makes 80, which means 80% of your investment should be going to equity. General guideline. It's not necessary that everybody has to follow the guideline. Somebody says, oh, we are so averse about investing in equity, we don't want to do it, we will do exactly opposite. You're free, it's just a guideline. Okay. This also means that as your age goes up, they are saying that as you go up, age goes up, you reduce your equity component. And where does the rest 20% go? Where does the rest 20% go? It goes into debt. Okay. So one needs to now decide as on the brink of investments. Okay, you have started your job or you have got money in hand. How do you go about investing there? Then these are the broad guidelines in which you can go about doing it. Okay, depending upon what is your comfortable feeling. Today, the market in India is doing very well. Obviously, there is a correction at this moment going on, but the market in India is doing very well. Next, another a decade or two, the markets in India are going to do extremely well. Okay. So, investing in equity, a large portion, I am not advising on putting 80% or 20% or whatever you are comfortable with onto equity in a systematic investment plan fashion would make sure that you are appropriately invested and you are gaining the fruits of Indian economy booming in next 1 to 2 decades, not 1 to 2 years, 1 to 2 decades. You know what it means? Okay. So we understood this. We understood what are the various different ways of having income. We understood what are the various different instruments for debt that you can invest. Now you have understood equity. How do you go about investing in equity overall, right? Now, since market is running so well nowadays, okay, and there is so much of potential of market doing so well, let's understand shares in detail. How do you go about doing equity? Okay. See, for example, debt, if you want to go invest in bank FD, you'll go to the bank or go to banks online site and open an FD for you, right? You can go and buy company bonds online as well. Post office, obviously, they are not automated so much or digitized so much. You have to go to post office and make it happen. But rest of the things are all available. Even government guild funds are available through RBI sites nowadays. So a lot of things can be done straight online, provided you know what exactly you want to do. Okay? The most important problem out here is people don't know what exactly they need to do. If they are able to take the investment decisions right in their 20s, right on 20 when they have got their first salary, and they start taking right decisions in the right direction, that is when they will make a lot of money as they go forward. Okay. Now, investments attract interest, which is more money, right? So you put 1 lakh rupees, you will get interest on it, so you have got more money. Next year you will invest that more money again, you will get more money on top of it. So that your money attracts more money, okay? And it follows a rule called as compounding rule, okay, which is very important for you guys to understand, because compounding if you are able to understand in your early 20s, right from your first paycheck, from whatever work that you're doing, you are better off. Now I'm going to explain you what is the power of compounding here. Okay. For that, let's write here. Okay. Suppose you got 1 lakh rupees. You invest 1 lakh rupees today. Okay. So today is what? Today is, for example, 2024, right? I invest 1 lakh rupees. I invest 1 lakh rupees as a combination of multiple things, and I get a overall return of 10%. So I am investing 1 lakh rupees at 10% returns. What does it mean? At the end of next year, 1 year, percentage is annual percentage, right? At the end of 1 year, this 1 lakh will be 1,10,000 rupees for me. And I have done nothing. All I have done is I have taken money, 1 lakh rupees of my money from my income, and put it in instruments that I have decided to put. And I got an interest overall return of 10%. So this 1 lakh rupees in 2025 becomes 1,10,000 rupees. Correct? 2026. It becomes 10% more of this. So 10% more of this is 11,000 rupees on top of this, right? So 11,000 on top of this, 1,21,000. So in 2 years, your 1 lakh has become 1,21,000 without you doing anything about it. All you have done is you have just invested that money and you have not withdrawn that money. Okay? You got it? Okay. So for better management sake, for better calculations, let's assume that this is not 10%, okay? Because I want to give some calculations to you, okay, which will help you. This is 14%. This is 14%, which means this would be 1,14,000, right? So you understood, right? If you go for higher returns, you are taking higher risk, higher return, then you will get higher returns. Your higher returns with higher money you will get. So this will be 1,14,000. Correct? 1,14,000. Typically, this would be, I am roughly calculating, this would be 1,30,000. Roughly. Okay? But what it means is a 14% interest returns. You are going to double your investment in 5 years. Double. Which means 2024 you invested this, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So in 2029, that 1 lakh is going to be, investment is going to double in 5 years. And it will double every 5 years. Which means you invest in 2024, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So in 2029, your 1 lakh rupees that you invest in 24 would be 2 lakh rupees. Okay? So I'm adding 5 more years. And you have done nothing, you are just invested at 14%. Okay? 5 of this is 34. What would this be? 4 lakhs. It will double. So this has become 4 lakhs. And what have you done? All you have done is you have just identified the right instruments, right balance between equity and debt, and your effective return of that has been 14%. It could be 10%. If it is 10%, instead of 5 years doubling, it would be 7 years. It will take 7 years to double. But that's okay. It's still going to double. Right? So here you were 20 years old. This, you are 20 years old. Here you are 25. Here you are 30, right? And then suppose further down, this is 8 lakhs, and you were 35 years. But you are going to continuously invest. Now you are not just going to put 1 lakh rupees and say I am done karke. So that is not how you would do it. But that 1 lakh will be 8 lakh rupees in the next 15 years. 5, 10, 15 years without you doing anything much about it. That is the power of compounding, and that is the 8th wonder of the world. As you age, this and you don't touch this money, this is going to grow continuously. So this power of compounding is very important for people to understand. Okay, because what happens is we are into instant gratification mode, right? A new i16 Pro Max has come in. I want an i16 Pro Max 1.5 lakhs. I'm not saying don't enjoy life, but if you are into that kind of a scenario and you are spending your money and not investing, that 1 lakh, if you were an investor, would have been such a big amount as you go forward. Okay, this is not even big. As you go forward, as you go to 50s, in your 50s, 60s, 80s, this will be a huge amount. Again, the disclaimer is I'm not saying that don't enjoy your life, but one needs to control the overall current instant gratification scenario. Instant gratification typically is very prevalent today in today's generation. It is not that our generation did not have it, our generation had it, but the avenues to spend today in India are much higher. We did not have so many avenues to spend back then, 50 years back. So it's necessary to exercise delayed gratification. If you delay your gratification just a bit, okay, then you can create enormous amount of corpus which is going to help you as you go forward through your entire investment and finances. So that concept is called delayed gratification. That is the reason why many people you would see, they live very frugally. They live very frugally. They are not spending too much. It's not that they are not enjoying their life, but they live very frugally. They create an enormous corpus in few years by living frugally, and then they have so much of money that they enjoy throughout their life. Whereas there are other set of people who spend all their money, whatever they get from the income in their early years, and then they have to slog it out in their late 40s and 50s to create their corpus and to invest. And that's a huge task if you leave it in your 40s and 50s to create a corpus, investment corpus for yourself. So that's a very bad idea, okay, overall, if you ask me. And in doing all of this, I'm not saying don't enjoy life. Enjoy life, but to the right extent of not being extravagant by exercising delayed gratification and frugality appropriately. Okay, so this was power of compounding. A very important concept of power of compounding overall. Let's understand another scenario on how does one go about buying and selling equities. Right? Now, how do you buy and sell equity is going to be very important. Let me just rub this off, and we will talk about how do we go about buying and selling equity. So suppose you want to buy a HDFC share. It is also called a stock. Okay. Where will you go and buy a stock? HDFC Bank. You cannot go directly to HDFC Bank. Okay. So what you will do is you will open an account with an intermediate broker. Now there are various types of brokers which are available. The most talked about broker today is Zerodha. There are other brokers. There are Upstocks, and there is ICICI Direct. There is something SBI provides. something HDFC provides, and so on and so forth. So these are the brokers. So what you do is you go and open an account, say on one of them, Zerodha. So you now have an account, okay, through which you can buy and sell shares on the stock exchanges. What does Zerodha do? Now let's take Zerodha. Let's open an account on Zerodha. So now you have got an account on Zerodha. You are all set to buy your first share, which is HDFC Bank. What happens? You know, when you do it on Zerodha. So this is you. Okay. You told on Zerodha that I want to buy HDFC Bank. Behind this, Zerodha is connected to stock exchange. How many stock exchanges do we have? 2. Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. So behind the scene, Zerodha is connected to both the stock exchanges, BSE and NSE. When you tell Zerodha on their user interface that I want to buy HDFC Bank, you also tell them on which exchange you want to buy. Say you had put NSE as an exchange. So what he's going to do is, he's going to say, oh, HDFC Bank, this person wants HDFC Bank and he has put up a transaction and he wants to buy 1 share of HDFC Bank. 1 share. 1 share price today of HDFC Bank is around 1730 rupees. 1730 rupees. Which he is going to put that order, buy order. So you want to buy, right? He puts a buy order on National Stock Exchange. Somebody out there would have put up a sell order because he wants to sell HDFC Bank for 1730 rupees or lower. NSE will match this particular transaction, execute this transaction of yours for a buy transaction and send you the confirmation. And the broker will say, oh, it has been executed, this transaction has been executed on National Stock Exchange. Now you are the owner of 1 share of HDFC Bank. So 1 share will come to you in your account in Zerodha. It's not actually in Zerodha because Zerodha will maintain all the shares in depositories. It does not retain those shares with itself. He retains those shares with either CDSL or NSDL. Central Depository of Securities and National Security Depository. Something of this sort. So there are 2, just like BSNS, there are 2 such things. So when that 1 share has been bought on your name, you will go and put a record of this saying that this person has bought 1 share. Say for example, if your account behind the scene, Zerodha stores everything in CDSL, okay, depository. So in depository, it is recorded that XYZ person has bought 1 share of HDFC Bank. And he will show you in your interface that yeah, you have bought 1 share of HDFC Bank, you are the owner of 1 share. You understood how do you go about buying it? Now you go about selling it. So what will you do? You will go on to Zerodha app, say I want to sell HDFC, right? Even though you have bought it from National Stock Exchange, you have an option to sell it on Bombay Stock Exchange because that share is going to be unique in the world. Company has got only these many shares. It's not going to be that either this guy has got some other shares, he's got other shares. You can sell it anywhere. Okay? So he says, okay, let me go and sell it on NSE. And then somebody wants to buy it, so that matching transaction happens, and you sell your HDFC Bank, you get your money in your bank account. Getting it? So for buying, you wanted 1730 rupees in your account, right? So that account will get debited, 1730 will be transferred to the buyer. But you don't know who is the seller out there, who is the seller. So you never come to know who exactly has sold So that matching it does behind the scene, and you don't have that transparency. So you understood this, how these exchanges work behind the scene. Obviously, there are many complex things and transactions that happen behind the scene. This is the most simplified view of how exchange works behind the scene. Okay. Now, what we'll do is, for a 20-year-old, how does an investment should look like? I already said 80-20%, right, of this. So what would typically be considered a good investment? It is assumed that younger you are, you have got more risk appetite. Okay? The older you get, your risk appetite reduces. Well, this statement was true some time back, okay, but it is not entirely true statement. The true statement is, yes, your risk appetite is more in your early age, but your risk appetite as you get older could be even higher if you met all the goals, financial goals you already have. So the extra amount of money that you get, you can really take a risk of investing into riskier instruments even when you're older, provided you have met all the goals with respect to your financial investments. So that's the correct statement of understanding it. The older statement made sense because historically in the past, people used to struggle to make those financial numbers till they reached 60. Today, no more that is a true statement. Okay? So you have to change the statement as things pass by, with newer and newer ways of appropriately defining it. So suppose it's a 20-year-old who wants to invest, and you don't want to invest 80-20 rule. Perfectly fine. Okay? You want to go with a 50 kind of a scenario. So what does the 50-50 scenario mean? 50% you are going to invest in debt, 50% you are going to invest in equity. Right? So to start with, let's start with equity. What would be the right way of investing in equity? Directly buy shares? More riskier? I have taken taken 100 shares of HDFC Bank, and HDFC Bank tanks, and your entire investment goes down because of that one share. But the market, everybody else has done well, but HDFC Bank does badly, it goes down. So mutual funds could be the better way of investing it. And you don't have to invest lump sum. Like we are talking about lump sum here, bank account mein you put 1 lakh rupees, you get 7% return. You don't have to do it. You put up a systematic investment plan, which is called SIP. So you do a 50% equity through an instrument called as SIP through mutual funds schemes. Okay, so if you are able to contribute, say for example 10,000 rupees per month for this particular mutual fund thing, then if you have got like 20,000 rupees per month, which is your savings, then you put 10k here in debt, right? 10k here in debt, and you put 10k here in equity. 10,000 rupees in debt, 10,000 rupees in equity. That equity, 10,000 rupees, you go and put an SIP in mutual fund schemes. Now, which mutual fund scheme do you pick up is going to be a tricky thing. Okay? And which in debt instrument you will put this 10k. Okay? Now, one asset class that we have not considered at all is gold. You could invest in gold, like for example, you could go and buy ornaments. It's still an investment. Or you can go and buy gold units, just like bonds. You will get gold also. So here, I consider gold as debt investment, okay, and not anything else. But that's how I classify it. People don't classify it that way. So you could have invested in gold also out here as debt instrument. So you go ahead, in this scenario, you got 10K for debt investment. You go and pick one of these various different ways of doing it. It could be you might decide to have a bank FD of 50%, 10K bank FD. So every month you are investing 20,000 rupees, for example. And from those 20,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees you are investing in equity, and 10,000 rupees you are investing in debt. In debt, easiest way to start off is a bank FD. In equity, easiest way to start off is a mutual fund systematic investment plan. Got it? Okay. So there are many things, folks, we have learned today. Okay. One is we learned that there is different types of investment instruments, debt type of investments, equity types of investments, real estate investments. Then we understood what are the various different instruments within that, within debt, various different instruments within equity, and how do we treat the real estate, which is nothing but property. We also understood the power of compounding, how your investment early in your life will really fetch you a lot of money as you age further without you doing anything. Just you have to invest in the right instruments to get a right kind of a return. Okay. And then we understood how do we go about investing in shares and mutual funds, how does overall broker system works to buy and sell the shares. We also understood what is the equation, typical equation of division between debt and equity investments. The key here is which mutual fund investments one should start investing in, and out of this, which one should we start? So I already mentioned that out here bank FD makes a lot of sense just to start with. Okay, and from the mutual fund perspective, one can always start with a overall Nifty ETF. Okay, so there is an ETF, exchange traded fund, which is linked with Nifty. Nifty is nothing but the 50 large cap companies in India. They're together, bundled together. It's called a Nifty. It's a bundle of 50 large cap companies. So whatever happens to that bundle will happen to this ETF also. So this price will go up and down as per that bundle. So if India has to really do well for next a decade or two, this Nifty has to go up. There's no other option. Okay. So the easiest and I'll not call safest because it still has a lot of risk because it has got 50 stocks, shares underlying it of different companies. But a better way of doing it is invest in an ETF of a Nifty, which means you will open a Zerodha account out there, and through the Zerodha account, instead of buying HDFC Bank, you will buy a Nifty ETF out there on monthly basis for 10K, for 10,000 rupees, and that is your SI. There is another way. If you don't want to do an ETF, you can also create an index fund where you tell the mutual fund, ICICI Prudential for example, that I am going to do SIP every month, cut 10,000 rupees from my bank account. So he will do it for you. I hope this has been a good primer for all the kids out there to understand the importance of investment in their entire life, the importance of delayed gratification, importance of power of compounding, importance of asset allocation in the right proportion, importance of identifying the right instruments in equity and debt which are congruent to a risk-taking capability, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much.